Welcome to the channel. Hit subscribe and dive into stories that'll stay with you long after the video ends. Let's begin. The boys' laughter cut through the morning like glass. It echoed across the school courtyard, sharp, careless, loud enough that heads turned. And at the center of it stood a girl who didn't look up, didn't speak, didn't even flinch. She simply adjusted the frayed strap of one shoe, a shoe so worn that the sole peeled back like a curling page. "Nice footwear," the boy said, wiping a tear of laughter from his eye. "Did you dig those out of a dumpster?" A few kids snickered. A few looked away. The girl, Kayla, tightened her fingers around the strap of her backpack. Her hair fell over her face like she was using it as a shield. She whispered, "Please move, I'm late." But he didn't. Evan leaned forward with an exaggerated bow. "Allow me to escort you. Wouldn't want those things falling apart before first period." Someone laughed again. Someone muttered, "Dude, chill." Yet Evan kept going, because at 16, with a fresh burst of popularity after joining the basketball team, he felt invincible, untouchable, and mocking someone felt like a shortcut to another ripple of attention. But then something shifted, not in Kayla, in the air. A quiet tension rolled through the courtyard when a sleek black limousine, longer than the school bus and polished to a mirror shine, slid around the corner. No rumble. Just a low, smooth hum as it coasted forward, stopping right at the curb where Kayla stood. The doors didn't open. The tinted window didn't roll down, it just waited, and the courtyard went still. Evan blinked. "What is that?" Kayla said nothing. She stepped around him, the worn sole of her shoe slapping faintly against the pavement. Each step held a calm he didn't understand. She approached the limousine as though it were the most normal thing in the world, as though she did this every day. A uniformed driver stepped out. Tall, immaculate suit, white gloves. He walked with a posture that suggested he served very few people but served them exceptionally. He opened the door for her. "For you, Miss Kayla." A stunned murmur rippled through the courtyard. Evan's stomach twisted, like reality suddenly didn't match the script he expected. He stared from the limo to the girl, waiting for some explanation that would make it ordinary again. But Kayla didn't offer one. She placed a hand on the door frame, hesitated a breath, then glanced over her shoulder, not at the crowd, not at the whispers, but right at Evan. Her eyes weren't angry, they were disappointed, and somehow that hit harder. She stepped into the limo. The door closed with a soft, final click. The vehicle eased forward, tires whispering across the pavement, and for a moment Evan felt the weight of dozens of eyes turning toward him. Eyes asking questions he didn't know how to answer. His cheeks burned. Suddenly the courtyard felt too bright, too loud, too exposed. He swallowed hard. Who is she?" Someone whispered, but no one knew, and the limousine faded from view. Evan stood frozen, one thought pounding louder than all the murmurs around him. How had he mocked the one person who had a chauffeur waiting in a limousine? And more importantly, why her? He didn't know yet, but he would soon. Evan couldn't focus the rest of the morning. The limousine's image kept replaying in his mind, gliding across the courtyard, the sunlight catching the polished chrome, the driver bowing like she was someone important, someone he'd mocked without a second thought. By second period, the whispers had already spread like wildfire. Her family must be loaded. Maybe she's royalty or something. "I heard the driver called her Miss Kayla. Who gets called that?" Evan sat at his desk, tapping his pencil against a blank notebook page. The sound was sharp, repetitive, like his own heartbeat trying to remind him of something he couldn't quite place. "Mrs. Tallon continued lecturing at the board, her voice blending with the low hum of gossip. But Evan's attention kept drifting. He replayed the look she'd given him. Not anger, not fear. Just a quiet disappointment that felt heavier the longer he thought about it. He glanced toward the empty seat near the window, Kayla's seat. She hadn't come back after the limousine arrived. No explanation, no note, nothing. And somehow that felt even stranger. When the bell rang, Evan moved slowly, as if he expected answers to fall out of the ceiling tiles. But the hallway outside was buzzing again. Voices, rising, overlapping, pushing tension into the air like static. "Dude, Evan," a voice called. It was Marcus, one of his teammates. He jogged over, eyes gleaming with curiosity. "You saw that limo, right? What even was that? Man, she made you look." He cut himself off, noticing the tension in Evan's face. "Look, I'm not trying to make fun of you," he added, dropping his voice. "It's just weird. She wears shoes like that, but she gets picked up like she's what?" Evan snapped before he could stop himself. Marcus hesitated, Like she's someone we don't know at all. Evan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. He walked away before Marcus could reply. The hall felt crowded, the voices too loud. Every step seemed to echo with the memory of his own laughter, sharp, careless, cruel. Outside, the November wind brushed cold against his skin. He headed toward the basketball court behind the gym, a place where noise usually felt distant. He needed space, not to think but to breathe. But as he turned the corner, he stopped. Someone was already there. Kayla. She sat on the lowest bleacher, tying the frayed lace of her ruined shoe. The limousine was nowhere in sight, just her, quiet, alone, as if the morning hadn't happened at all. Evan's breath caught. For a moment he considered walking away, pretending he hadn't seen her. But something in him tugged forward, something restless, something guilty. He stepped closer. Kayla didn't look up. "If you're here to make another joke," she said softly, "you can save it." Her voice wasn't sharp, just tired. "No," Evan said quickly. I'm not." The wind shifted, brushing leaves across the court. Kayla pulled her hair back, finally meeting his eyes, and there it was again, that disappointing calm that made his chest tighten. "What do you want, Evan?" He swallowed. "I want to understand." Her expression didn't change. "Understand what?" He hesitated, then, "The limo, the shoes, you, all of it." Kayla's gaze drifted toward the horizon. "You won't understand," she murmured. "Not yet." And the way she said yet sent a quiet ripple of tension through the air, like a door creaking open to something neither of them had expected. She stood. "We're going to be late." And she walked past him, leaving the question hanging in the cold wind. Unanswered, heavy, impossible to ignore. Lunch came with a restless buzz that filled the cafeteria like a swarm of unspoken questions. Evan sat with his teammates, but the conversations around him blurred into static. Every clatter of trays, every burst of laughter, every whispered rumor about Kayla pressed against him, until he felt like he was sitting inside a tightening vise. He pushed his food around his plate. He hadn't seen her since the moment outside the gym. His teammates kept glancing his way, waiting for him to crack a joke about the limo, to reclaim the confidence he'd had that morning. But nothing about this felt funny, not anymore. Marcus nudged him. "Just go ask her, she's over there." Evan followed his gaze. Across the cafeteria, Kayla sat alone at a table near the back wall. A paperback book lay open in front of her, but her eyes weren't moving across the page. She seemed lost in thought, or maybe bracing herself for the whispers floating around her. He took a slow breath and stood. The room didn't go silent when he walked toward her, but it felt like it wanted to, the kind of heavy hush people lean into when they sense something about to unfold. Kayla didn't look up as he approached. She simply turned a page she clearly hadn't read. Evan stopped at the edge of the table. "Can I sit?" She paused, one finger holding her place in the book. Then she closed it gently, as though sealing away a fragile secret, and nodded toward the empty chair. "Do whatever you want, Evan, everyone else does." He sat, awkward at first, unsure how to hold himself. His voice came out quieter than he expected. "I owe you an apology." Kayla blinked once, not coldly, just slowly, like she was making sure she'd heard him right. "For the shoes," he continued. "For this morning, for being an idiot." A faint breath escaped her, not quite a laugh, not quite a sigh. "People have said worse," she murmured. "But thank you." Silence stretched, but it wasn't harsh, just uncertain. Evan leaned forward. "Look, I'm not trying to pry. When I saw that limo, it didn't make sense. You don't seem like someone who would," he faltered, searching for words that wouldn't sound like judgment. "Live that kind of life." Kayla studied him, her expression unreadable. "The shoes bother you," she said. "No, well, I mean, they confused me." She looked down at them, touching the frayed edge with the tip of her finger. "These shoes are the only pair that fit right now." "Right now," he repeated. She nodded, eyes drifting away. "Things change, faster than people expect." The way she said it sent a chill through him, like the words held a story she wasn't ready to share. Before he could ask anything else, the cafeteria lights flickered. A brief dimming, a quiet static buzz, then normal again. A few students glanced up, shrugged, returned to eating. But Kayla's breath caught. Her shoulders tensed. Evan noticed. "Hey, are you okay?" She forced a small nod. "It's nothing." But her eyes said it wasn't. Suddenly the loudspeaker crackled overhead. "Kayla Reed, please report to the front office immediately." Her spine straightened. She froze for a heartbeat, just long enough for worry to slip across her face before she masked it. She stood, gathering her book. Evan rose too. "Do you want me to?" "No," she said quickly. Stay here." Her tone wasn't harsh. It was afraid. She hadn't even taken 2 steps before she paused, turned, and whispered just loud enough for him to hear, "It's starting again." Then she left the cafeteria, leaving Evan with a cold, unsettled feeling twisting deep in his gut, a feeling that whatever it was, he wasn't supposed to find out, but he would, and sooner than either of them expected. Evan didn't stay put. He tried. For the first 30 seconds after Kayla disappeared through the cafeteria doors, he sat frozen, staring at the spot where she'd whispered those strange, unsettling words. "It's starting again." They rattled in his chest like loose stones. Then he stood. He didn't tell Marcus, didn't tell anyone. He just slipped out of the cafeteria, blending into the flood of students heading toward class, then veered down the side hallway that led to the front office. The air there felt different, quieter, colder, as if sound didn't travel quite right. When he reached the corner, he slowed, keeping to the wall so he wouldn't be seen. He peeked toward the office door just in time to see Kayla inside, speaking quietly with the receptionist. Her shoulders were stiff, her hands clasped tightly around her book. A second later, the door to the principal's office opened. A man stepped out. Not Principal Harris, someone Evan had never seen before. Tall, dark suit, the same kind of immaculate quality as the limousine driver, but without the polished warmth. This man carried tension like it was stitched into his jacket. His eyes swept the room with calculated precision, landing on Kayla. He spoke quietly, too quietly for Evan to hear. Kayla's face went pale. The receptionist looked down quickly, as though she wished she hadn't seen any of it. Then the suited man placed a gentle but firm hand on Kayla's shoulder and guided her toward the exit that led outside, toward the faculty parking lot. Evan felt his heart pound. Every instinct told him to stay out of it, but something about the look in Kayla's eyes, wide, fearful, yet resigned, pushed his legs forward before logic could stop him. He followed at a distance, slipping through the side door as it clicked shut behind them. The wind outside carried a sharp bite, colder than it had been an hour earlier. Gray clouds rolled fast across the sky as if chasing something unseen. Near the lot, another vehicle waited, not the limousine. A dark SUV, windows tinted, engine idling. Evan crouched behind a row of shrubs, breath held tight. The suited man opened the back door. Kayla didn't step in. She looked around instead, her expression shifting from fear to something heavier, dread maybe. Then her gaze flicked across the lot and for a split second met Evan's. He froze. She didn't call out, didn't gesture, didn't betray him, but her eyes, they said everything. "Don't come closer." The man noticed her hesitation. "Miss Reed," he said sharply, "we are running out of time." The words carried urgency that sent a tremor down Evan's spine. Kayla inhaled slowly, her breath trembling. "I know," she whispered. She stepped into the SUV. The door shut, muffling whatever remained of her voice. The vehicle pulled away, turning onto the road with the same smooth precision as the limousine earlier, but without the elegance. This departure felt urgent, heavy, like something spiraling beyond control. Evan burst from behind the shrubs, watching the SUV shrink into the distance. His chest tightened. Nothing about this felt normal. Not the limo, not the fear in her voice, not the man in the suit, and not the message left behind in her locker, because when he returned inside, drawn by a strange instinct to look, he found her locker slightly open, a torn slip of paper barely sticking out. He tugged it free, hands trembling. 6 words, scribbled fast: "Don't follow me, they're watching." The hallway seemed to darken around him. Who was watching, and why her? The questions swirled, louder than the bell ringing overhead. He didn't know it yet, but the next answer would come much sooner than he expected, and not from Kayla. Evan didn't sleep that night. Kayla's note lay on his desk, the 6 frantic words burning into his thoughts. "Don't follow me. They are watching." The more he stared at it, the more wrong everything felt. Like the world had tilted and no one else noticed the slope. By morning the sky hung low and heavy with storm clouds. Wind swept across the school grounds, bending the flag so far it looked ready to tear loose. Students hurried inside, heads down, unaware of the weight sitting in Evan's chest as he approached the front steps. He kept scanning the parking lot. No limousine, no SUV, no sign of Kayla. Inside, the halls thrummed with restless energy. Rumors had intensified overnight, whispers about the limo, the mysterious man in the suit, Kayla's disappearance from afternoon classes. Every conversation tangled into the next until it felt like the whole school was vibrating with speculation. But no one had answers. When Evan reached his locker, he froze. A small envelope rested on the top shelf, placed with almost surgical precision. His name, his full name, was written across the front in a looping script he didn't recognize. For a moment, he considered leaving it, ignoring it, pretending nothing was happening. But pretending had never made anything go away. He tore it open. Inside, a single line: "Meet me behind the old greenhouse, come alone." No signature, no time, but something in his gut told him go now. He slipped out a side door, letting the wind push cold air against his face as he crossed the courtyard. The old greenhouse sat behind the gym, long abandoned. Its glass panes were fogged and cracked, vines curling up its metal ribs like grasping fingers. As he approached, a shadow shifted inside. He hesitated, then pushed the door open. The hinge groaned, echoing through the hollow space, and there she was, Kayla, wrapped in a dark coat, hair pulled back, eyes sharper than he'd ever seen them. She looked stronger somehow, more awake, more certain, but exhaustion clung to her like dust. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "You asked me to come." "No," she whispered. "Someone else did." The wind outside rattled the panes. Evan stepped closer. "Kayla, what's happening? Who are those people?" She didn't look away this time, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of a truth she'd been running from. "My family used to be wealthy," she began. "Not normal wealthy, the kind that comes with attention and expectations and people who think they have a right to your life." Evan listened, breath tight. "After my mom died, my father pulled away from all of it. He cut ties, sold everything. We moved here to disappear. We wanted peace." Her hands curled into fists. "Some people don't like being walked away from." The greenhouse creaked as a gust of wind slammed against it. "Those men," she continued, "worked for my mother's side of the family. They've been trying to bring me back, to groom me into what they think I should be. Yesterday the limo was just a warning, today was an order." Evan felt anger rise in him, sudden and fierce. "So they can just take you like they own you." "I said no," she murmured. "And now they are angry." A twig snapped outside. Kayla stiffened, her eyes locked on the door. "They found us." Evan's heart pounded. "What do we do?" For the first time since the limo appeared, her expression softened, not with fear but with trust. "We run." She grabbed his hand. Together they burst from the greenhouse just as shadows moved along the outer wall, dark suits, fast steps, voices calling Kayla's name. Wind roared through the trees, and Evan realized something, breath seizing in his chest. This wasn't just her fight anymore. But the story didn't end in fear, because as they sprinted across the field, Kayla squeezed his hand, steady, certain, and whispered through the rising storm, "I'm not going back. Not this time, not ever." And for the first time, she didn't sound alone. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and visit the channel for more real-life stories.